Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Week 5 Team Wiz NFL DFS podcast. Got Pat here. I got my man Kyle over there. How's it going, Kyle?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I feel like this is the first week we get to jump into the NFL grind, and actually stuff is kind of normalizing out, and we get to break down some cash games, some good cash game plays for you guys.
Yeah, it's definitely getting better. We're getting a feel for the league. We know who these teams are now. I'm ready. I'm ready to start killing it.
Absolutely, man. It's with everything kind of levelizing out, and we're seeing a lot of trends normalize now that we can definitely nail down some go-to plays. And guys, we're not just going to break these plays down and tell you who we like. We're also going to tell you why. If we skip a guy that you have a question about, or that we didn't mention, or we didn't go into depth and tell you why we didn't like him, there's a chat bar in the upper left of your screen. If you're on the Google Hangout screen, you can drop a comment and a question in there, or you can tweet me at DFS_WizP, or tweet Kyle at DFS_WizKyle. But let's get this thing started, man. Let's jump into these games real quick. The Thursday night game, we have Jacksonville. No, not Jacksonville, Tampa Bay. It's Houston, right?
Houston and Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indianapolis at Houston. Who do you like in that game?
You have to like DeAndre Hopkins. He's just seeing such a high volume. He leads the league in targets downfield for 15 yards or more. He's got over 20 targets, 15 yards or more. Even though only four of them have been completed, you still got to put that in consideration.
Yeah, it looks like Vontae Davis has yet to practice this week, so
he's out most likely.
Oh man, ooh, that's looking bad for Tennessee. I mean for
Indianapolis.
Yeah, looking bad for them, man. I actually had Murphy or Mumfrey, whoever their slot receiver is. I had him written down because the receiver opposite of the guy guarded by Davis has just blown it up. We saw what Allen Hurns did last week. I played him in a lot of my cash games and GPPs. He went off. We've seen what they've I forget what his name is, but the corner opposite of Davis has been murdered every week. But now that if Davis is out, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins is a great play. I saw where Houston said they were going to try to get Arian Foster the ball more, but he just didn't look right. He didn't look like he's up to game speed.
No, he just didn't look very explosive at all.
And one interesting note that I did see is Houston is playing at the second fastest pace in the NFL, right behind Philadelphia. So that's something to take note of.
They actually have the most offensive snaps in the league.
It's pretty crazy. Their old offensive coordinator, I saw an article earlier today where he came over. He had coached several. I know he'd coached for the Patriots before and someone else, but when he was with those teams, they were the fastest paced team in the NFL. So
yeah, which puts the Indianapolis side in play too. I like Dante Moncrief and T.Y. Hilton. If Hasselbeck is still playing, you definitely got to put him in some GPP. That price is just insane, especially on FanDuel for a quarterback who's going to get you 10, 15 points. That's a great price.
Yeah, especially with Houston being able to kind of they're so-so against the run. They're not great, but they're not bad either. But they are terrible versus quarterbacks. They're giving up. They are actually 27th in the league versus quarterbacks. So fire Hasselbeck up in some GPPs. I saw a interesting note. I happened to catch the NFL, the fantasy show on ESPN this past Sunday morning before kickoff, and his brother said that he was playing his own brother. He said, "When's the next time I'm going to be able to play my brother in DFS?" I thought that was pretty cool. If my brother was in the NFL, I probably wouldn't play him. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, you can't have any bias in DFS, right? You can't. Uh,
No.
move, moving on. Let's get to the Sunday games, man. We got Jacksonville at Tampa Bay. Who we liking here?
Jacksonville, Tampa Bay. Allen Robinson. That's about it for me. This is an ugly team. Two of the worst teams in the league. I just don't see very many points going up here.
What about Allen Hurns, man? His price is still low. Targets have been creeping up there still.
I think his ownership percentage is going to go up. Obviously, people are going to chase points here, but Allen Robinson is the play.
Yeah, I say let him chase it. Recency biased. He's one of the bust candidates of the week. And man, as I was looking over numbers and defense versus position and just reviewing these games, Doug Martin stood out to me, and I didn't want him to. I kind of felt like he was nasty Nate. No, nasty Nate. No, get away from me.
Man, I talked so high on him coming into the season. He looked so great in the preseason. I just want him to come out and have a good performance, not make me look bad.
Last week he did. He carried the ball for what, 19, 20 times for about, let's see here, about 100 yards. But what most thing, if you're playing on DraftKings, and again, this is one of these things where you got to check the pricing differences. But if you're playing on DraftKings, he's 4.7K. Let's see. Jacksonville is 27th versus the run.
The one thing that puts him in a play for me is Tampa Bay is a favorite for the first time this year. So game script says Doug Martin.
Yep, game script's in his favor. Tampa Bay's favored at home. We love to target running backs at home. They've actually scored about 2.5 points over their projection for that week. So on DraftKings at 4.7K, he's in cash game viable with his, if he still gets 20 carries a week like he did last week, 106 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, at his price across the industry, if I know he's getting 20, 25 carries, a couple targets out of the backfield, I'm playing him.
Yeah, that's something to definitely watch. Keep your eye on Twitter and see our Roto World, stuff like that. And see if you see this coaches leak their kind of game plan. Lovie Smith has been notoriously been one to say one thing and do another. So keep your eye on that.
I'm pretty disappointed. I saw Coach Fisher for the Rams last week say he was going to come out and play Todd Gurley a lot more, and I didn't jump on that, mostly in part to the fact that they're playing the Arizona defense. But man, he went off.
Yeah, he would have been a great GPP play. Probably could have won you a lot of money. But moving on, next game, we have Buffalo Bills at Tennessee Titans. This is a 42 over/under. Buffalo's favored by 2.5 here. Anybody here that is cash game viable for you?
Mariota. That's all. That's about all for cash games. Maybe some Charles Clay, just because of the volume.
Yes, he is. Let's see here. I have the target stats here. He's top in the league in tight end targets.
He has 31% of the team targets, and that's only with 1 week without Sammy Watkins. That number's only gonna grow.
He's fourth in the league in tight end targets. What is his price around the industry, Kyle? Do you have that?
It's around 5K on FanDuel. I'll check here.
I got it. He's 4.1K on DraftKings and
57 on FanDuel.
Okay, 57 on FanDuel. So yeah so
he's
he needs about 12 to 15 points. So with his red zone targets and the number of targets he's getting, FanDuel and DraftKings, he's a great cash game play. What about are you walking down the titty narrative street here with this being Breast Cancer Awareness Month?
I am not.
You're not jumping on the booby train?
No.
It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and booby is getting a start. I mean, you got to play him, right?
I guess so.
4.5K. He'll probably be, I'm guessing, about 60% owned, maybe in cash games, 50 at least. I think Tennessee has a great defensive line. I think it's a good fade to me. We saw, I think he could possibly be this week's Carlos. We saw the Giants hold Carlos down last week. Everyone, rushed to plug Carlos in their lineups. Booby does have upside. He, like you said before the pod when we were chatting, Kyle, he's got a big play upside, but I don't see him, raising you to the top of your cash games or GPPs.
Yeah, definitely not. There's better options this week.
Tennessee side of the ball, I'm with you. Buffalo's 29th in the league versus quarterbacks. Mariota has been very consistent, posting about 22 fantasy points per game on DraftKings, about 20 on FanDuel.
Yeah, very, very consistent, which we want in cash games. One thing that holds me back here is he's the most sacked quarterback in the league, and that defensive line for Buffalo is pretty stout. So,
yeah, they'll probably get to him. But one thing from playing college football DFS, I love me some running quarterbacks, guys that can get it done on the air and the ground. He actually hasn't been running that much this year, but just he has the capability to escape if the pocket breaks down. Tennessee's offensive line has graded out middle of the league according to Pro Football Focus, so they're not that great. But seeing that Buffalo's secondary is terrible against the pass, Mariota is in play for cash games and GPPs. I like Kendall Wright he's pretty much the only receiver there. And then Delaney Walker, he's got him back. They seem to be developing some chemistry there. We've seen rookie quarterbacks and backup quarterbacks, consistently go to their tight ends for their safety valve. He's 3.8K on DraftKings, so he's right there with Charles Clay for me in cash game consideration.
Yeah, definitely. Delaney Walker was a huge stud last year too. Had some huge games.
He's got to give him that time to develop the chemistry with Mariota, and I think he'll be one of the top tight ends this year. One note here, I actually didn't get to watch any of this game yet, Tennessee's game this past week when they played Indianapolis. But I did hear a lot of buzz of this guy, Antonio Andrews. And I remember from playing college football DFS last year, Antonio Andrews was a stud for Western Kentucky. He's a running back for the Tennessee Titans. They put him in. I'm definitely not trusting Ken Wisenhunt running back in my cash games, but he's minimum salary or close to minimum salary on DraftKings. He's involved in the passing game, the running game. He could make for a great GPP play here, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
You got anything else from this game?
No, I don't.
All right, let's get to another game chock full of fantasy goodness here. The Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Do we really have to talk about this game?
Justin Forsett, that's about it for me.
Me as well. Cleveland's Cleveland. They're terrible. I know everybody's want to jump on the gosh, I can't even think of their wide receiver's name.
Aiken?
That everybody's No, not Baltimore, Cleveland.
Oh, Travis Benjamin.
Yeah, Travis Benjamin. Everybody's want to jump on Travis Benjamin. He's just it's Cleveland, guys. And Gary Barnidge at tight end. Gary Barnidge sounds like my accountant or my old next door neighbor that I want to kick off my lawn. It's Cleveland, guys. I can't go there for cash. I'm with you, man. I'm Justin Forsett. It's 5.8K on DraftKings. What's he on FanDuel? 6.5, 6.4?
He is a little more expensive than that, I think. 7,200, which I am definitely willing to play or pay for Justin Forsett against this Cleveland defense. Saw what he did against the Steelers. He's an explosive running back, huge upside. He can take one to the house at any time. This Cleveland defense is terrible against run. I can also see some using some Taliaferro, who gets a lot of red zone targets, who vultures them touchdowns, which is what we want. That's where the points come from. He could have 40 yards, 2 touchdowns, and get you value.
Absolutely, man. Cleveland, to be exact, is 31st in the NFL versus runs. I'm not sure if all of you people know, but there are 32 teams in the NFL, so that makes them second to last. They are terrible. He's at home, favored. We said that with Doug Martin. We like our running backs at home. We like them in the favored matchups. This is a low-scoring game, so I'm not going to go out of my way to target anybody else. I see a lot of people jumping on Kamir Aiken with Steve Smith being hurt and all the other Cleveland wide receivers, but that's just a bad matchup for him. Cleveland secondary is actually pretty good, so I'm not going to go out of my way to throw Aiken in anything but a GPP.
Yeah, no thanks.
Well, let's move right along, man. Washington Redskins at Atlanta. We got a 48 over/under with Atlanta favored by 7.5. A little over a touchdown. Who are you liking?
Julio. That's about it.
Julio's the man. 13 targets a game. 100. He's averaging 120 reception yards a game, and that's even with last week's dud. And go ahead, guys. I think a lot of people will be off of him because he didn't go off last week like he has done every week. But go ahead, guys. Fade him at your own risk. That game was well in Atlanta's grasp last week. They had no need to pass the ball. That's why you saw Devonta Freeman's explosiveness. They did target Hankerson on the goal line a bit and some screens. But with Washington being pretty good against the run, I see this has got Julio game written all over it.
Definitely.
What about Devonta Freeman with his volume and just what we've been seeing for him? 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks.
His price went up. Coleman's coming back. You just don't know what's going on. Maybe some GPP, but can't trust it for cash. You just don't know what's going to happen.
I still think he gets the bulk of the volume, but with this Washington front seven being as stout as they are versus the run, let's see. I had that pulled up here. They're actually pretty high in the league. Oh, I just lost it. Anyway, they're pretty stout versus the run, and they're kind of a funnel defense. We see that in the NFL as a copycat league. People not being able to run on the Redskins, so they just go to the air. Julio, Hankerson, fire him up. Maybe Matt Ryan. With his price, he's not really – there's some cheaper quarterbacks that I like a little bit more this week, but he's in play as well. But you got anything else from this game?
That's it.
All right, let's move on to the next one, man. I have my next game on the docket. I have the Chicago Bears at the Kansas City Chiefs, 45 over/under, with Kansas City favored by almost 10 points here.
Yeah, I love me some Jamal Charles here. He's a consistency monster. He's going to get you the 15, 20 points. In this matchup, I could see 25 points. He's a threat of the backfield. He's a threat running the ball. They're huge favorites. The game script's in his favor. I love Jamal Charles here.
Touches out of the backfield, he's averaging 20 touches a week out of the backfield. He's averaging about he also leads the league in targets. He's averaging about targets per game at running back out of the backfield in the passing game. So that's what you want, guys, for your cash games is you want someone who is not only in a good spot, it's a great matchup for him, but also someone who gets the bulk, someone who gets the volume. Jamal Charles, as he goes, the Chiefs go. I really don't see the Chiefs as an organization trusting Alex Smith. He's kind of painful to watch, but trusting a game in his hands. He's just a game manager. The only playmaker they have there is Jamal Charles. Other than that, with the Bears being as terrible versus the pass as well, and Alex Smith's price being cheap, he's in play here as well to me.
Yeah, Alex Smith is actually one of my top targets here for cash games. He's just so cheap. He's so consistent. He's going to get you the 15 to 20. Plug him in and move on. I also like Jeremy Maclin here. Chicago's just terrible. And Jeremy Maclin's the number one go-to guy outside of Kelsey.
Yeah, he's been getting a ton of targets each week. He has been Alex Smith's go-to guy, like you said. On the Chicago side of the ball, with Kansas City being as terrible as they have versus wide receivers in the past,
Alshon Jeffrey.
If he plays, don't be afraid.
My favorite receiver play if he plays.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Throw him in cash game. He's a lock. I mean, we saw what AJ Green light him up like Manny Sanders did in Week 1, or Randall Cobb did last week or week before last. So, but they've been abused time and time again. This is becoming a trend, just like some other trends we'll talk about. And with these things kind of normalizing, and we're seeing these things happen time and time again. Fire up wide receivers versus the Chiefs. Jeffrey, and in my opinion, that makes Cutler in play. I'm not going to trust him in cash games, but he's definitely a GPP option in my book.
Yeah, definitely. I just can't fathom the fact of using Jay Cutler.
Exactly, man. That's my point, and a lot of people won't. We're not playing with monopoly money here. We're playing with real dollars that we deposit into these DFS sites. So this is real paper money. So a lot of people will hesitate to put Jay Cutler in a lineup because they have real money on the line.
Great GPP play.
Exactly. He'll be low owned. Nobody's going to trust him. I don't trust him. But if you're making, a one bullet entry and going all or nothing, then why not? But that's all for me from this game. It's a pretty boring game. I can see it being very low scoring. Let's move on to the next. I actually like this game quite a bit. I just don't know where all the production is going to come from. This is the New Orleans Saints. My Saints at Philadelphia, and one of the highest scoring games of the week. We have almost a 50 over-under with the Eagles favored by 4.5. What do you make of this one?
Man, just the two names of the teams makes me want to get some exposure here. I just don't know where to go. I mean, you could go Sam Bradford, you could go Jordan Matthews, Drew Brees, Brandon Cooks. Their prices are all just too high for what I want to pay for them, and you just don't know where the production is going to come from.
Yeah, Drew Brees has been injured with Philadelphia is actually 30th in the league versus quarterbacks. They're right above Chicago that we talked about. And guess who's 29th in the league versus quarterbacks?
Philadelphia.
No, Philadelphia's 30th. Guess who's 29th?
No, New Orleans, yeah.
New Orleans, yeah. So
they're both in play. You just if you look at Sam Bradford's matchups for the last few games, he's had home run matchups every game. Hasn't done anything.
No, he hasn't. I really think it's not necessarily a product of the system. I do think that defenses have caught on to Chip Kelly's system. But I just think that
he's just not a good fit for that offense. I have no idea why they brought him in or traded for him. You're running the option, and you have a quarterback that is not a threat to run the ball at all. They know the running back's getting the ball. He's not ever going to keep the ball, ever.
I couldn't agree with you more on that one, but bottom line, even before that, if you're running the option, if you don't block anybody, nothing's going to work. The problems with the Eagles starts with their offensive line. Their offensive line is actually next to last in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. So until they get that fixed, I'm not touching anybody on that side except maybe Jordan Matthews in this matchup with New Orleans being vulnerable against the pass and quarterback. I love Drew Brees. He has a high price. With his injuries and other cheaper quarterbacks being in good spots, I can't trust him, and I want to play Brandon Cooks as well. But the
so
volume
expensive for no reason. He hasn't done anything all year.
His price actually dropped quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit. He's down to 5.8K on DraftKings. He's getting the targets, but I don't know if you guys watched the Saints game this past week. They look to try to get him involved in screens and target him close to the line of scrimmage, but we haven't seen that long ball, that explosiveness that we saw, the deep threat that we saw from him and Drew Brees last year. And until I see it, they work that out. I'm just not going there because of like I said, the injury with Drew Brees and the inconsistency. But one guy who has been producing in that offense and has gotten the snaps, he's gotten the second most snaps as a wideout in New Orleans, right behind Brandon Cooks, is Willie Snead. He's min price on DraftKings. He's a great GPP play in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Anybody else in this game?
That's about it for me.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one, man. We have, I like this one a lot. We have the St. Louis Rams at the Green Bay Packers, 46 over-under. Green Bay favored by 9. What do you make of this one?
I got to pause. I got to take a time out. I just got a tweet from Snydog, John Snyder. His wife says you need to burn those drapes and paint that ceiling.
I see that, and she'll have to take that up with my wife. She is the interior designer and decorator here. My wife was this house was recently remodeled, so we have rafters. Actually, if you can see the whole ceiling, it's actually pretty fucking cool. So anyway, if she wants to come over, I'm definitely sure my wife would sit down and talk remodeling and decorating because that's a hobby of hers anytime. So thanks, John. Appreciate that. I'm glad my wife's out of town right now. Anyways, St. Louis, Green Bay. Who do we like? Aaron Rodgers for sure. Who else?
Yeah, definitely. Aaron Rodgers always in play. James Jones, Randall Cobb, Todd Gurley, maybe. I just think there's better options.
Man, Gurley, 20 carries last week. Do you think he gets that volume again this week?
Yeah, I mean, and if he does, he's definitely in play. If he can do what he did against Arizona's stout run defense, he's going to be in play every week with that volume and that price.
Yeah, it's 4.3K on DraftKings. That definitely brings him into cash game play for me. Green Bay, middle of the road, actually a little bit better than middle of the road to get versus the run, the 12th in the league versus the run. But we saw his explosiveness. St. Louis actually has the 5th best offensive line in the league right now. So they're blocking. So that shocked me when I saw that. I could see this game being a little bit lower scoring than they're saying, but closer as well. But other than that, I love some James Jones and Randall Cobb in this game also.
Yeah, definitely.
Are those two guys, especially Cobb, are they a cash game play for you? There's somebody that you're going to look to and plug in, or is that somebody that's just, if the salary fits, if they kind of fit in, then you'll play them?
They're always in cash game consideration, no matter who they're playing. I just won't try too hard to get them in my lineups. If they fit, plug them in. Why not? They're not going to hurt you.
Part of one of the best offenses in the league. Randall Cobb had a dud last week. I could see a lot of people being off them, and Aaron Rodgers as well, for that matter. His price didn't go up that much, so they're definitely in play. Next game, we have the Seattle Seahawks at the Cincinnati Bengals, 43 over under, one of the lowest scoring games on the docket. Bengals favored in this one. What do you think of this one?
I like Tyler Eifert here. Seahawks, they tend to give up a lot of points to the tight end, not because they have bad linebackers, but just because they're so stout on the corners there. Teams are forced to throw into the middle. Tyler Eifert, he's one of the best tight ends in the league, in my opinion. He's eating up the targets, and he's a great red zone target. Big, athletic guy.
He has 6 red zone targets on the year, 2 red zone targets per game. We're looking at 7 targets a game, 25 targets total. I think last week with Kansas City, Cincinnati played Kansas City last week. With Kansas City being so terrible versus the pass, A.J. Green was the man. This week, Tyler Eifert can definitely be a great play, like you said, with Seattle's cornerbacks being so stout. But for me, that's it in this game. Cincinnati's defense, that's my next play. They're my favorite GPP defense of the week. A lot of people have the stigma of Seattle still being a great offense, of Seattle still being a powerhouse since they did play in the Super Bowl last year. But I don't know if you
been a great offense.
No, they haven't. And I don't know if you guys watched the game they played Monday night. I don't know if you guys watched that game. Their offensive line looked terrible. They can't give Russell enough time to throw. He's great on his legs and creating space when there is none. But man, since he's got a good secondary, good defensive line, they have who's their defensive tackle? Kyle, come on, help me out. For Cincinnati,
I'm not sure.
Oh man, he was hurt the first part of the year, but anyway, he's back and he's wrecking shop. He's looking great. If somebody's got it, can think of it right now, my mind's going blank. Tweet me at DFSWizP. But anyway, let's move on to the next game. There's a few plays I like in this next game. Arizona at Detroit. We have a 44 over under. Arizona favored by 2.5 points. We saw Todd Gurley run all over this Arizona defense last week, so that means fire up Amir Abdullah, right?
Now with Joyke Bell back in action, isn't he? He's coming back this week. Okay, yeah. Maybe it's some GPP. Abdullah's price did go up since the beginning of the year, so I'm not looking to put him in any of my cash game lineups. But I do like Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald here. Like I said, I'm going to mention them every week. You have to.
Yeah, with his targets volume, gosh, do you remember how I feel every time I talk about the Cardinals with Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald? I feel like I'm going back in time. Do you remember when they called him Larry Sticky Fingers or Larry Sticky Fingers?
What was that? I missed that.
When they called Larry Fitzgerald, they called him Larry Sticky Fingers,
and for good reason.
Yeah,
he's a Minnesota boy, so I always got to consider him.
I'm going to take him right in my lineup right now. But no, man. Let's see targets for Larry Fitzgerald. He's leading the league in targets. Not lead. He's right there. Where is he? Oh, he's gone down. Okay, he's middle of the pack. He's got 37 targets, about 9 targets per game. So that's still quite a bit.
For that price, especially. I don't know about DraftKings, but on FanDuel, he's not even a top 10 priced wide receiver. He's definitely in play.
Yeah, he is. He's 6.8K on DraftKings. He makes for a decent play. He's not someone I'm going to go out of my way to roster, but he's one of those guys. If I have that amount left over once I get my value plays plugged in, then I might plug him in. And that's another thing we might need to talk about and have a separate podcast on if Kyle can wake up. We'll have a podcast on maybe roster construction one time and talking to you guys about how we construct our rosters, what our process is when we go through and making our cash game lineups and who we plug in first. And do we look for value first? Do we look to plug in the high-end guys first, or how we go about building that? It really depends on it week to week. But I think this week is shaping up to be one of those kind of stars and scrubs week. But we'll just kind of see how it comes out when we start putting these things together. But Larry Fitzgerald, Carson Palmer here. Detroit has a stout defensive line. They're one of those funnel defenses where you can throw on them versus run on them. So those two guys are in play. But other than that, that's about it here for me.
Yeah, me too.
All right, next game. We got 3 games left. New England at Dallas. 49.5 over-under with New England favored by almost 9 points. Who do you like?
I like Dion Lewis just because they're favored by so much. Game script says obviously play Dion Lewis. You always got to consider Tom Brady, Edelman, Gronk, but I just don't think they'll be passing very much here. That's really all for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. We talk. I've mentioned funnel defenses here. I saw an interesting stat. Dallas is actually terrible against running backs that are involved in the passing game. They're allowing quite a bit of targets to running backs out of the backfield. So, and overall, they're 30th versus the run. So, with Dion Lewis being highly involved in that high-powered Patriots offense, he's 4.8K on DraftKings. He's one of these low-price guys that I'm going to plug in first and try to get the high-end guys in around him. Other than that, I kind of like Whedon as a GPP play. Am I crazy?
Yeah, you are crazy. It's Brandon Whedon.
But he's so cheap, and if you're playing the matchups, man, versus the quarterback, you have the Patriots are bottom 10 versus quarterback.
Is that because their defense is so bad, or because they score so quick and their defense is on the field that much?
Probably garbage time, if I had to guess. But Brandon Whedon's very accurate. He hardly ever. He's a dink and dunker. He hardly ever throws the ball down.
He only throws to one side of the field. Do you think Belichick is gonna key in on that? Do you think Belichick has a good idea of that?
I think Belichick has a good idea of if I'm wearing pants or not right now. That guy knows. He knows. Seems to know.
You think he has cameras in your house right now?
Belichick scares me, bro. I don't know. I don't know about Belichick, man. He's one of the best coaches we will see in our time. If you watch or listen to his post-game press conferences, I think he's just a huge nerd, but for good reason, man. He knows his stuff, and I do think he'll key in on that. So GPP, Brandon Whedon at your own risk. But other than that, Dion Lewis, Gronk.
Give me a second. I gotta grab the charger.
All right. While he's doing that, guys, also if you're playing on DraftKings, Cole Beasley is his price still hasn't risen very much after the Dez Bryant injury. He's still only 3.1K on DraftKings. That is just a little bit above minimum price, $100 over minimum price. So with Lance Dunbar injury, him going out, Lance Dunbar was their passing back. He would come in third downs and late game situations when they were down, and they would go to him out of the backfield. I personally think a lot of those targets are going to go to Cole Beasley. And like I've mentioned before, depending on roster construction and how all that stuff kind of comes together, if I need a near min-sal play, Cole Beasley, he could be in play to me. He's getting let me pull this up here. He's getting around 5 to 7 targets a game. New England is 25th, like I said, versus the pass. He's had some pretty decent games, and at minimum salary, I mean, he only needs about 9 to 10 points to reach value on DraftKings. With it being a PPR league, let him catch three passes for 50 yards, and he's got you 8 points right there. So, if he gets in the box, which we're all trying to get in the box, then he's hitting three times value. Oh, Snot John just tweeted me and says that Kyle had to be 10 years old when they called Fitz Larry Sticky Fingers. Larry Sticky Fingers. No, I can't talk. He said he's really out now, fellas. We must be getting past your bedtime. Tell your wife good night and tuck the kids to bed and have a good night, brother. Anyway, yeah, we're running kind of long here, so we're gonna wrap this
10 years old, huh?
that tweet got me. Anyway, wrapping this up, we got 3 games left. Denver at Oakland, man. This has got some of my favorite plays here. 43.5 over under. Denver favored by 5 points here. Who you like?
I like the Denver defense here. This is a rival game. We know these rival games are usually low scoring. I mean, you can't do no wrong with the Denver defense. They're in play every week. They can get sacks on any drop back. Derek Carr drops back drops back at a high rate, one of the highest rates in the league. I love the Denver defense this week.
Yeah, they're great at pressuring the quarterback. They're great at causing their own turnovers. They're just tenacious, ferocious. They're nasty. They're one of the best defenses in the league. People have been underrating them. They're 3,400 on DraftKings. They're definitely in play for me. I'm probably going to look to save a little bit more money on my defense just because it's so hard to pinpoint that one defense that's going to put up 20 points. I did happen to play Carolina D in a lot of my lineups last week. That was just because bad weather in Tampa. Our friend Marty, he's not able to be here tonight, so shout out to Marty wherever you're at, brother. Hope you're having a good night. He was at that game and told me that it was raining like cats and dogs in Tampa, so I fired up Carolina's D. So if you guys pay attention to Twitter, pay attention to those kind of things, you see some bad weather, stuff like that going on. Good chance for a defense to create turnovers, but Denver's good at creating turnovers on their own without weather. Other than that, one of those trends that we were talking about earlier, like the Kansas City defense being terrible against wide receivers. Oakland, tight end. Owen Daniels, man. He doesn't get that many targets. He's not that involved in the offense, but it just seems like they put that guy in when they get in the red zone, and Peyton Manning looks his way. He caught a pass for a touchdown last week. He's 2.7K on DraftKings, $200 above minimum salary. Bottom dog. I mean, 2 straight TDs for Owen Daniels in his last 2 games.
Peyton Manning is just notorious for loving his tight ends too. Obviously, Julius Thomas last year. Who's the guy in Indianapolis? Dallas Clark, I want to say.
Yep, Dallas Clark. They're just
he made that guy look like a stud, and he really wasn't anybody, in my opinion.
They do a lot of misdirection in the backfield when they're in the red zone. They'll fake the ball one way, play action, and let Peyton come back to his tight end the other way. He's very comfortable with that. It's soft, easy throws for him. It's just he could probably do it in his sleep.
Also keep an eye on the running back situation. Ronnie Hillman has just looked 10 times better than C.J. Anderson, and I've been saying this since the beginning of the year. You got to play Ronnie Hillman just because he's a big play threat at any given time, just like he proved last year when he had that I want to say 70-yard touchdown. He can do that at any time, and he just needs to be the starting running back for a team that's struggling on offense.
Last week he bust one for 70 yards.
Yep.
Raiders are 20th in the league versus running backs, so that's not good, not great, not bad.
If at his price across the industry, if we get word that he's starting, he's getting the majority of the carries, fire him up everywhere.
Well, Kubiak's already come out and said that he's going to give him more carries than C.J. Anderson this week. And we saw
– we just don't know how much of a difference that'll be yet.
Well, let's flash back to this time last year. Week 5, 2014. Kubiak is at Baltimore. Who was the top waiver wire pickup at this time last year?
Week 5, I want to say Ronnie Hillman was.
No, Justin Forsett. Kubiak in Baltimore. Kubiak's offense in Baltimore. Justin at the beginning of the year, there was all the turmoil with Ray Rice beating his wife. We didn't know the Baltimore backfield was all up in shambles. And then about week 4, week 5, with the Kubiak run zone blocking scheme, we saw Justin Forsett just excel. Who is small and explosive and similar to Justin Forsett? Ronnie Hillman. He's going to excel on this scheme. He's going to excel in this offense. He just hasn't had that opportunity. So, like Kyle said, if we get word, pay attention to Twitter, Roto World, all these guys, see if anything gives you a tip that Ronnie Hillman's going to be the feature back in this offense. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. 4.9K on DraftKings on a PPR site. Lock and load him. Denver has the potential to be one of the top offenses in the league. He could return top 5 fantasy value at 4.9K. But other than that,
I know he'll be in Soup Dog's lineup. I'm pretty sure Soup Dog Pretty sure
Didn't
Snoop
they,
Dogg was his high school coach or
uh,
travel team
Snoop,
coach.
Snoop Dogg was his little league coach. There's pictures he tweeted out a few years ago.
That's awesome.
Actually, I saw Snoop Dogg tweeted that picture out last week after Hillman busted that 70-yard touchdown, and he was like, "Kubiak, get him in, bro. You know, good play my homie." But yeah, that's pretty cool. Other than that, man, there's nothing with Denver defense being as stout as they are. There's nothing that really stands out to me as a must play in this game.
Besides Owen Daniels.
Owen Daniels, maybe some Manny Sanders, but other than that, I'm not going to go out of my way to roster anyone. Next game?
Yep.
San Francisco Giants traveling across our nation to visit the New York Football Giants. 43 over under. The New York Football Giants favored by a touchdown. Who do you like?
Nobody.
Yeah, I don't really either. 43 over under. Giants favored by a touchdown. I could actually see this game being like a 10-7 game or 7-3 game.
Yeah, same here.
Giants offensive line.
Like this game at all. This might be my least favorite game. I know there's some premier players here. ODB. I'm not excited about this game.
I actually like the Giants defense on DraftKings. Just because 49ers traveling across the country, across two different time zones to play in the afternoon. They're the worst offense in the league. What did you say before we started, Kyle? They were like a Canadian football league or little league team or something like that.
They belong in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah. Colin Kaepernick is terrible. He's throwing like a pick per 10 dropbacks. Giants defense is 2.8K on DraftKings. I mean, I'm really looking to save money where I can this week. And like I said, it's tough to nail down the defense that's going to get you points. This could be a cheap source of decent points here. They're cash game playable to me.
Yeah, definitely.
They're pretty stout versus the run. They're actually a number Pro Football Focus has graded them out as number 2 versus the run. Believe it or not, we've seen they're pretty vulnerable in the air versus tight ends and wide receivers. But the San Francisco air attack does not scare me at all. So fire up some New York Giants defense here. Other than that, there's nobody in cash games that I can trust. New York Giants offensive line, not grading out so good. Eli is getting pressured on every third drop back, I believe. So it's just tough to trust that kind of pressure in your cash game. You really want to see some consistency out of an offense before you go to target someone like that. So that's all for me here in this one.
Yeah, me too.
Last game on the slate, one of my favorite games to target, believe it or not. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the San Diego Chargers for Monday Night Football, 45.5 over/under. Chargers only favored by 3 points here, man. What do you make of this?
Yeah, this is my favorite game. There's obviously a reason it's a Monday Night Football game. It's going to be a shootout here. I love some Phillip Rivers. I love Keenan Allen, one of my favorite receiver targets this week. Danny Woodhead, obviously, on PPR sites. On the Pittsburgh side of the ball, Le'Veon Bell. With Roethlisberger out, that's all they're going to do is go to Le'Veon Bell, and he has to be played everywhere this week.
San Diego Chargers, 31st versus the run this year. We talked about there only being 32 teams in the NFL earlier. That's second to last for those of you who are counting.
That's mostly in part to them being down to most teams, and they've had some bad matchups, AP in them. So I wouldn't look at that too much, but it's Le'Veon Bell.
Yes, with a back with his upside, with him being used and targeted in out of the backfield, touches out of the backfield, targeted in the passing game. I've made it known to you guys. I've had him in my year-long dynasty league for going on 3 years now. I've seen games where Le'Veon Bell has gotten the ball 35 times. With Vic at quarterback, Le'Veon Bell could see the game 30-plus, could see the ball 30-plus times this game.
He should.
He most definitely should. He's so fun to watch. He's the most patient back in the NFL. If you watch him run, he'll walk, kind of dance up the line of scrimmage, wait to let his block set a hole, make a fake, and then a cut, and he's gone. This will give you something to root for in your Monday Night Football games. He's just a beast, man. He's my favorite running back in the NFL, favorite guy to watch. And if they don't give him the ball more than 25 times in this game, then all the Pittsburgh should be fired. I'm gonna put in an application for Mike Tomlin's job because he did a terrible job last week. We all saw with his the kicking, the special teams game in Pittsburgh. Antonio Brown, I love him to death. He's just with Vic at quarterback, he's out of play. But man, when I was looking at stats and numbers from this game, Philip Rivers stood out to me. Is he cash game playable to you?
Not here. I think, like we just talked about, I think Pittsburgh is going to run the ball a lot. They're going to try to slow down the game, and I just think there's better options, cheaper options, higher upside. He's actually
right along the same price as some of the cheaper options that we've already discussed, and we like Mariota, and he's a little bit more expensive than Alex Smith and some of the other guys we've talked about. He's actually been very consistent, and you could pair him up with one of our favorite wide receiver targets of the week, in Keenan Allen, who has been a target monster. Pittsburgh has been bottom half of the league versus wide receiver and quarterback. I think that could be, who they've played. But still, we're in week 5. We're seeing these things kind of level out. They are, let's see, 24th. Yeah, 24th versus wide receivers. Is it Stevie Johnson? No, not Stevie Johnson. Yeah, Stevie Johnson. He's hurt, right?
I'm not sure.
I think he is, man.
Yeah, him and Malcolm Floyd are both out.
Yeah. Keenan Allen, man. He's going to – as him and Phillip Rivers go, I think this offense is going to go. Don't count out Antonio Gates as well. He comes back this week. He's 4.2K on DraftKings, 5.5 on FanDuel.
I really like Antonio Gates this week.
I think as Rivers, Allen, and Gates goes, the Chargers go. And like you said, I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think. I do think San Diego pulls this one out because Pittsburgh has Vic behind quarterback. But
huge sleeper for me this week, though, is Melvin Gordon, who Pittsburgh got killed by Justin Forsett, and I'm really expecting a big game out of Melvin Gordon this week.
Yeah, their offensive line is still in shambles, though. They're still missing 3
guys. But it's Pittsburgh. They're terrible.
They're not as bad as you would think. They are they're middle of the league versus the run. So actually, no, they're 4th.
Teams have not really been looking to run the ball, though. With Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown on the other side, they've been chasing points. You saw last week what Justin Forsett did. I watched that game. The holes that were created by that Ravens offense were just crazy.
Yeah, and that Ravens offensive line is nothing to write home about it either. They're not the offensive line that were last. So, yeah, Melvin Gordon, 4.9K on DraftKings, 6.5K on FanDuel, averaging 19 touches per game. You've got Woodhead and PPR sites at 4.6 and 6K on FanDuel. There's a lot of plays in this game, guys. It's really going to come down to, Bell. Bell, I'm plugging in first in my cash games, and I'm building around Bell. Other than that, Keenan Allen's a must-play for me as well, with all the other wide receivers being out. And I'm just kind of going from there.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, that's it for all the games, guys. Now we'll open up some time for some questions. If you guys have any questions, add us on Twitter at DFS_WizP or at DFS_WizKyle. Hit us up. Let us know. We'll get to your questions now. Kyle, do you have any?
Yeah, with Gates returning and a possibility of Deshaun Jackson too, do either make their way into your lineups if you're making multiple lineups? For me, both of them. Both of them have good matchups. I like both of them. Especially if I'm making multiple lineups.
I thought Deshaun Jackson was still ruled out.
Yeah, he's most likely out. He's saying there's a possibility, and if he does, would you play him?
Oh yeah, if he plays, most definitely. He has a great matchup. Atlanta, they're not bad in the secondary. They're much better versus the run, but for the price around the industry and the amount of targets with Deshaun Jackson being out, Pierre Garçon being out, and what's his name? Crowder. What's his first name? Jamison Crowder. He's 3.5K on DraftKings. He got 7.
When you said that, I just wanted to say Jay Crowder. My mind is just all over basketball today.
Basketball? Yeah, I know, man. Dude, he got 12 targets last week, 8 receptions, 65 yards, a touchdown for 14 fantasy points versus Philadelphia. If both those guys are out, then Jamison Crowder is cash game playable, in my opinion. Like I said, this really has a stars and scrubs feel week to it, where I'm going to try to get Bell, try to get Julio, try to get some of these higher end guys, and this is going to be one of those week, guys, where you're going to have to pay attention to the Twitter machine, the Roto Wire, all the news that comes. I think you mentioned basketball and the crazy hour before basketball lineups lock. This is going to be like 10 a.m., 9 a.m. on Sunday. Paying attention to the news. If something like that breaks, then fire up Crowder, open up some value in your cash games.
Yeah, definitely. Next question. Devontae Freeman, over-under of 1.5 touchdowns. What do you think? I say under.
I'm going to 1.5. Oh, I'll say under as well. This has got a passing game written all over it. He'll get in the end zone once. Some kind of crazy stuff like Julio getting tackled on the 1 will happen, and he'll be able to run it in. But Washington front 7's stout, man. He's not going to continue the crazy pace he had.
Jay Schrapp says I look like Kyle Schwarber.
I disagree. I
disagree as well.
I just got a question. The same question from @salute Young Eli. Will Devonta Freeman continue? I think the buck stops here this week. You can't continue that kind of pace. He'll get in the end zone with the volume. He'll have a nice fantasy day. Don't get me wrong, but he's not.
I think a lot of his production has to do with the offense he plays for. A lot of teams focusing in on Julio, and then also that offensive line just looks great. I think anybody can run behind them, but I honestly think Tevin Coleman is a better running back here. They've got to play him if he's healthy. They've got to play him over Freeman.
I don't think they do with the way Freeman's performed. I don't think they do immediately. I think he'll get some touches, yes.
I just think he's a better prospect going forward. If they're looking towards the future, I don't see them playing. This week, I do see them playing Freeman over Coleman, but going forward, I think Coleman's the guy. Anyways, Alfred Morris or Marvin Jones or Matt Jones against Atlanta.
Atlanta. Atlanta is 30th versus the run in the NFL.
I actually wanted this week. Neither of them get enough workload for me.
Yeah, you got Arietta. I mean, gosh, I'm reading tweets about the Cubs. Arietta. You got Matt Jones out of the backfield in the passing game. There's just not anybody who stood out as the go-to back. And if you're talking GPPs, yes, they're in play. But if you're talking cash games, man, you want the guys getting the volume, getting the bulk. That's the only reason I played Devontae Freeman in my cash game last week. Didn't matter his matchup; he's just going to get the bulk. His price is up this week, so Devontae Freeman not necessarily as in play for me this week with a bad matchup. But even with a good matchup on the Washington side, there's still the Washington Redskins. Do you really want to put your money, your real live money, on the Washington Redskins?
Absolutely not. And next question: how much do you guys love Kirk Cousins and Mike Vick this week? I don't like them at all. If we're looking for a cheap quarterback here, I like Alex Smith.
Yep, most definitely, much better matchup, man. I'm all about the matchup. I don't care about recency or price. I'm a guy to look at matchup and consistency. Alex Smith has been consistent, even though it hasn't been in garbage time. I do know he's an efficient quarterback, even though he's not going to take those risks down the field. And if you're talking cash games, you want a quarterback that's not going to turn the ball over quite a bit and guarantee you points. You want to look for that safe floor with upside. I don't necessarily think Alex Smith has upside, but he's got a low price. And who's the other guy you saw?
Mike Vick. Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Next question. Derek Carr or Andrew Luck? Neither.
Yeah, if Luck plays, man, I'll fire him up in some GPPs because I'm just waiting for that breakout game for Luck. I like Moncrief on Thursday night. I like T.Y. Hilton. The Texans defense, pass defense, is actually pretty stout. We've seen them get run over. Last week, Devontae Freeman put on a show against them. Atlanta offensive line, best in the league, wrecked shop against them. But I don't see Frank Gore doing that to him. Not an old man Gore. But this could be an Andrew Luck game if he plays.
Next question. Is Bell a must start this week versus the Chargers run defense? Absolutely. With Ben Roethlisberger out, the volume is just going to be so high. He's going to see the most touches, in my opinion, for running backs. It's either going to be him or Jamal Charles. I think you have to play him.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way where I can roster Le'Veon Bell in every single one of my roster spots at quarterback, tight end, wide receiver. So far, it won't let me do it, but he is my go-to favorite play of the week.
Best GPP quarterback for the week.
Best GPP quarterback of the week. I had a good one last week.
Matt Hasselbeck, if he plays again.
I think he'll be highly owned.
But
I really
he's the best option at that price, especially on FanDuel. If he's going to get you 15, 18 points at that price, you've got to play him. Even if he's highly owned, he's a block play, and you win everywhere else.
That's the Thursday slate, though, right?
Yeah. If we're playing Sunday, starting Sunday slate, Alex Smith for me on FanDuel.
I'm gonna go for GPP. I'm gonna go Brandon Weeden, and I'm also gonna go Peyton Manning. Two lower owned guys. Oakland hasn't been very good against quarterbacks. Peyton, his price hasn't risen. He's still Peyton Manning.
Dude, I have more velocity on my left arm than Peyton right now. I don't know.
We're talking about we're talking about GPP here, man. So like I'm really starting to think, for NFL, it's kind of off the radar guys. Pay attention to people that aren't talking about. I also like Eli Manning versus the 49ers. You really got to pay attention to the industry and look on Twitter, see who other people are touting, and think off the wall, man. GPP in NFL, all or nothing. You got to look to put up the biggest points. I got a question here from Brandon Douglas at iBrandon on Twitter. This kid cracks me up, by the way. If I end up losing my job, it's going to be thanks to Brandon Douglas because he cracks me up throughout the day on Twitter. Kickers to target for GPP.
Oh, jeez.
Fuck you, Brandon. That's all I got to say. Kickers to target for GPP. Get out of here, man.
Next question.
Just spin the wheel. Pick one. Just close your eyes. Cairo Santos.
Who's the top quarterback you would start besides Rodgers or Brady? For me, it's Mariota, it's Sam Bradford, Phillip Rivers, one of those three, right around the mid-price range.
Mariota, Rivers. If I'm paying up for quarterback this week, I like the spot Breeze is in. On the road, underdog. He's performed well on the road in the past. I know he's injured, but he's got a great matchup, and he still is Drew Brees.
That's all for questions for me. I don't know if you have any.
Other than Brandon's retarded question, no. If you guys got any questions right now, we got a few more seconds. I know we've ran a little bit long, but you want to wrap it up? You're gonna kind of run down a few of our favorite plays per position before we sign off.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, quarterback. Who you liking?
Mariota.
Mariota, man, I love him too. I feel crazy, but right around that same price point. I like Phillip Rivers. I don't think San Diego's going to be able to run on Pittsburgh as easily. I think they're going to have to turn to the air.
Running back.
Running back. Huh. I'm not going to take the easy way out and go with Bell. I'm going to go with Dion for New England. 4.8K on DraftKings. Highly involved. Dallas 30th versus the run. He's a great cash game and GPP play to me this week.
I'm going to go Ronnie Hillman.
I love it. Love Ronnie Hillman. And the fact that he used to hang out with Snoop Dogg too.
That's the only reason why.
Wide receiver, man. Wide receiver's kind of wide open this week. In the past, it's been pay up for wide receiver. Get Julio.
Yeah, I love a lot of receivers at the mid-range price this week. My favorite is Keenan Allen this week.
He's one of my favorite too. But I'm going to go a blast from the past from when you were 10, according to @SnotDog44, and throw in Larry Sticky Fingers with his targets and his matchup versus Detroit. They're one of those funnel defenses where you can't run on them. You got to throw it. And who's Carson Palmer going to throw it to other than Larry Sticky Hands? Tight end, my man. Who we got at tight end?
Owen Daniels.
Taking the easy route out.
Charles Clay, if I'm not going to go the high-owned guy.
Yeah, I love both of those guys. If I on DraftKings where you have the flex spot, if you're going to plug two guys in, plug Owen Daniels in to get you the savings for sure. And
Antonio Gates as well.
Yeah, Antonio Gates, and then Zach Ertz. If you're looking to stack your GPP, take Daniels in your tight end spot, and then plug Ertz in your flex spot. He's 3.3K, I believe. The Saints are 4th worst in the league at tight end. Then you could really stack a lineup on DraftKings. Defenses, cash game GPP.
Defenses, the Broncos.
Broncos create lots of turnovers. Love them. I don't normally like to take defenses on the road, but versus the Raiders,
They had 7 sacks last game. 7.
my GPP defense of the week is the Cincinnati Bengals at home versus the Seattle Seahawks. I could see some people taking the Seahawks defense in that spot. A lot of people who haven't really been paying attention this year so far and saying Andy Dalton and his fire crotch have actually been on fire. They're going to look and lock and load the Seahawks defense, where I would take the Bengals defense. And this is a shout out and a slap in the face here to FanDuel Assassin. The Giants defense, as terrible as they are versus wide receivers and tight ends, middle of the league, against the Canadian Football League team in the San Francisco Giants, traveling across, or San Francisco 49ers, still in baseball mode, traveling across the country to face them. I like the Giants defense for cash games on DraftKings. And that answers a question I just had from at JStraps. He said, thoughts on Giants defense this week for GPP. I like them for cash on DraftKings, and I like them for GPP. And he also asked Josh McCown for GPP. Kyle, what do you think about Josh?
No.
Oh, man. Baltimore. Yeah, I would rather take the Baltimore defense than play Josh McCown. Again, at the end of the day, as good as he is, he's still wearing a Cleveland Browns jersey. And he's not even that good. So not going to risk – again, if we were playing with Monopoly money, if it's a free roll, yeah, why not? But I'm not going to put real paper dollars on Josh McCown. No, thank you. But that about wraps it up for me, guys. I don't have any more questions, man. It's been fun. I've kind of learned a lot breaking these games down with you guys. Anyway, I don't have anything else. Kyle, you have anything else for this week that you want to kind of add before we sign off?
Nothing for me.
The last thing I kind of want to add is with this week, guys, it looks like you're going to have to pay attention with some injuries and some new players coming in the light and coming like Todd Gurley and Ronnie Hillman, and looks like you're just really going to have to pay attention and stay on top of your game on Twitter and the DFS world, RotoWire, RotoWorld. See who's starting, see who's going to get the bulk, and I would kind of get your skeleton, get your base lineup made, and have some plays ready to kind of swap in and out around that come Sunday morning. So don't get anything set in stone until then. So until then, guys, if you have any questions, hit us up. I'm on Twitter at DFS_WizP. He is at DFS_WizKyle. You can tweet us anytime, ask us any questions. But until then, we're signing off. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace.